that update. Let's talk now to Richard Fontaine, former US State Department and National Security Advisor to Senator John McCain. Welcome back to the programme. We spoke last week ahead of this trip. Now it has started and happened. What do you make of it?
Well, the ball is really in the Chinese court now to escalate or de-escalate. I think largely we will see saber rattling of the kind that was just described, military exercises and things like that in response. The Chinese leadership certainly wants to look tough on this issue. But of course, it is also the case that the Speaker of the House is fully within her rights and fully within the precedent of policy and law to visit Taiwan. And so really the ball is on the Chinese side to see how far they want to go forward with this.
And yet we know that Joe Biden didn't want the visit to go ahead.
Yes, I think this was more about the timing than anything else. I mean, Nancy Pelosi was originally scheduled to go to Taiwan in the spring, didn't go because she had COVID, and the Chinese made much less of a big deal about it at the time. Right now, Xi Jinping and the government are under a lot of pressure domestically. They have a zero COVID lockdown in a lot of places. Economic growth is really stalled. And of course, they've got a party Congress this fall in which he will get an unprecedented third 5-year term. And so looking tough in response to both what's happening domestically and ahead of his extension of time in office is an important thing here. And so I think the timing was an important aspect of this.
That's interesting. In terms of potential longer-lasting consequences, though, how do you read it?
I think that this is likely to be a relatively short-lived crisis, if you could call it that. Very different in a way than the 1995 crisis in the Taiwan Strait, in which China went so far as to launch missiles all around the island and really draw from that experience that it would not ever again want to see the United States sail aircraft carriers up the Taiwan Strait. I think this is mostly a political rather than a military crisis. Neither side really wants a confrontation here. And, you know, the U.S.-China relations were not going swimmingly before, and I think that they will go even less swimmingly in the future, but that they will be relatively stable.
Are you crystal clear in your mind what the White House strategy on Taiwan actually is? Because, of course, only recently there were those confusing comments from Joe Biden. The question is always asked, just how far would the U.S. go to defend Taiwan?
I'm not crystal clear. I don't think one can be. 3 times now, the president has said that if attacked, the United States will defend Taiwan, and then hastened to add that policy hasn't changed, but the policy in its essence is that the United States may defend Taiwan if it's attacked. And of course, will defend and may defend are 2 different things. And so I think the official policy, such as it is one of ambiguity. Maybe the United States would defend Taiwan, maybe it wouldn't, but it'll be prepared nevertheless. But certainly, I think the president has signaled his willingness, his desire, and he would be the one making the call.
Do you think there's any credence to that analysis that perhaps Beijing have watched what is happening with the war on Ukraine, thought that the US is perhaps a little distracted and so is increasingly looking perhaps to contemplate making that move, because they have always wanted reunification with Taiwan, haven't they?
They have. Xi Jinping, I think, personally sees this as a legacy issue for him. And of course, reunification with Taiwan has been part of the PRC agenda since 1949. They have wanted peaceful reunification. They know they can't have it, which leaves no reunification or potentially forcible reunification. The Chinese now are not postured or positioned to invade Taiwan. I don't think that's on the radar screen anytime soon. It is, though, very hard to see what lessons they may be drawing from the experience in Ukraine. Are they thinking, well, we have to act sooner than we might otherwise because the United States would otherwise give lots of weapons that we may face to Taiwan? Or do they say, hey, this actually looks to be much harder than we thought? Once you get to the island, then you face a determined adversary. And of course, you may elicit an American defense. So exactly what they're thinking is, I think, is hard to determine.
Richard Fontaine, thanks for joining us once again here on BBC